Welcome everyone, I'm King of Xeilot, and thanks for watching this Spore video. Today, we are beating Civilization stage without spending any money. For this challenge, we will begin as an economic nation, and we get one free tank to start Civilization stage. We can't buy any buildings or additional vehicles from our city, however, we can get some vehicles for free by destroying some other nearby tribes. On this continent, there are 4 available tribes that we can loot, and from these tribes, we want as many military vehicles as possible. We got lucky with 1 religious, economic, and 2 military tanks from these tribes. And from here, this is everything we need to beat Civilization stage. Now we'll capture this Spice Geyser for free to get the next cities to spawn. We'll still be making some money from the Spice Geyser, but the money in our bank account will never go down. The city spawns for the AI nations in Civilization stage will generally follow the same pattern each time. First, a small city spawns on our home continent, followed by 2 more additional cities. Except this time the first city spawn was on the other west continent. This city is spawning correctly, however we are starting on the wrong continent. The west continent is supposed to be our home continent, as this is where creature stage takes place. However, in order to complete this challenge, we needed to start on a continent with more cities on it. The west continent, where creature stage takes place, will only spawn 3 additional cities, but thanks to starting on the east continent, we will instead have land access to 6 rival cities. Starting Civilization stage from the main menu will never start us on a different continent than where creature stage starts. However, we were able to start on another continent by migrating to it during creature stage. Of course, the sea monster is supposed to prevent us from traveling across the ocean, but we'll go over how it's possible to bypass the sea monster and migrate to another continent after this run. The other large nations are spawning in, and we will give them compliments since those are free, and we can start a trade route with them. Since we can't spend any money, we can't buy any boats or airplanes to reach the other continent. However, a free way to capture these cities is to join with other allied nations. So we want to be friends and start trade routes with all these cities since we don't know who will become the dominant nation. So we're playing all sides so we always come out on top. Merging with another allied nation requires that we have at least 4 cities of our own. This is where our free military tanks come in. We are going to capture the small cities that spawn on this continent before the other nations have a chance. The small nations should be an easy capture, then we'll need to ally with an AI nation and for them to take over the rest of the planet and join together. And this is why we needed to be on another continent with more than 4 cities. Since we need 4 cities to be joined, if we only had access to the 4 cities on the west creature stage continent, it would have been a lot harder to ally with another nation across the ocean, not being able to directly trade with them. We'll capture this small purple city first. This city is far away from the other nation, so this will minimize any negative relationship for our borders being too close. Purple Nation is also military and had a tank of their own. We'll be sure to destroy their tank quickly since we can't replace our own. Then we'll move on to destroy the buildings. And we've captured our first city without spending a dime. And now we can move on to Brown Nation. And now that we have control of a military city, we can switch between the different tanks. We had to use whatever random tank the tribe gave us, but now we can choose a more powerful tank. Attacking Brown Nation is also very useful in making friends. Yellow Nation gave us plus 27 relationship for attacking our enemy. And Red Nation has plus 42 relationship, and it's slowly climbing as we continue to attack Brown. We capture the Brown City, and we can move on to the Pink Nation to capture our 3rd and final city. And we captured Pink, and now we have all 4 of our required cities. From here, it all depends on one of our allied nations to win out and for us to join together. Orange Nation on the west continent captured their 1st and 2nd cities, gaining control of that whole continent. So Orange is looking fairly strong. Red Nation is at a positive 122 relationship, so they'd be a great nation to take over the rest of the planet. And Red Nation starts to advance on the Yellow City, who are also one of our allies. Orange Nation is calling us up demanding funds. We only have 2 options, either to pay them, which we can't do, or deny them, which will lower our relationship with them, which we really don't want to do. Instead, we can bypass this communication by calling another city in the background and just saying goodbye, and that gets out of their demands and we didn't have to make either of their choices. Red Nation does take over Yellow, and Red moves on to the Blue City. Blue Nation sees the opening to recapture Red's new city since Red Nation destroyed all the buildings and is completely vulnerable. Blue does take the city, which isn't the best since Blue Nation doesn't have that positive of a relationship with us. It might be placebo, but I find that nations with a lower relationship perform better than nations that have a stronger relationship with our nation, which makes me think Orange Nation will perform well, being the only nation in the neutral relationship range with a lot of uncontested cities of their own. And Orange Nation has come to join the party over here on the east continent as well. Orange quickly takes over Blue's new city and moves on to Blue's home city. Now that Orange appears to be the dominant nation on the planet, we need to improve our relationship with them quickly. Since Blue Nation is about to be destroyed, we can try attacking Blue's forces to gain favor with Orange to get the "you attacked our enemy" bonus. However, Orange captured Blue's final city and we didn't get any positive relationship in time. Red Nation is back on the move to attack Orange's new cities, and now Red and Orange are at war as well. Since we have so much positive relationship with Red, perhaps we can try again and use this buffer to attack one of Red's Spice Geysers to hopefully gain enough positive relationship with Orange to start a trade route. At this point, this deep into Civilization stage, other nations need to be at least plus 30 relationship in order to accept a trade route. Attacking our ally works to gain favor with Orange, and Orange accepts the trade route. From here, we should be able to get enough additional positive relationship to ally Orange. Red captures the other Orange city and moves up to attack Orange's north city that we're busy trade routing. Thankfully, Orange defends and buys us some more trading time. We can merge with more than one nation, so if we get them both to allied, we can double merge and still win. Looking at Orange, they are currently at 55 relationship, with positive 70 being required to ally. We could let the trade route keep going to increase our relationship, since that would push us far above 70. However, I wanted to show a trick that will get us even more relationship for free even quicker. We've traded enough with the city in order to buy it, and we can offer a bid price for the city. Notice our money is just under 38,000 Spore bucks, and the relationship is currently at 63. We can offer the maximum bid of 32,000 Spore bucks, and they accept. We haven't paid them yet, so our money hasn't been spent. However, since we offered the maximum bid price, we receive the Your Generous Bid bonus for plus 20 relationship. This gets us into the allied range without needing to actually purchase the city, and we can perform the same communication bypass by calling another city in the background and say goodbye. And we get to keep the generous bid bonus for free. Now all other nations are allies, and we have 4 cities filling the requirements to merge nations. And there's red nations joining message, and there's orange nation as well. And that beats civilization stage without spending any money. We'll still go over how to bypass the sea monster and creature stage, but here's the timeline really quickly. It's super short, ending as military after capturing those 3 cities. And I want to thank Geta92 for discovering and explaining the generous bid trick to me. Here in creature stage, we're on the coastline of the west continent where creature stage normally takes place. And using free cam, we can see on the east continent where we started civilization stage for this run, there is a nest we can migrate to. Any city location in civilization stage is also a nest we can claim during creature stage. Using free cam would make this super easy to migrate across the ocean, however, we're going to do it without using cheats. When we swim into the ocean, the sea monster will eat us when we travel too far away from the land. However, during the cutscene, we can press Ctrl-Delete on the keyboard, bringing up the blue Windows menu with the task manager, and spam escape. Hit escape 3 times quickly in a row, and that will skip the cutscene and bypass the sea monster. The sea monster will keep trying to eat us as long as we're off our continent. So just keep using the Ctrl-Delete bypass to get out of the cutscene each time. But once we get to the other continent, after many bypasses, the sea monster will still try to eat us even when we're on the land. We need to fully migrate to the other nest and claim this continent as our home for the sea monster to stop attacking. And once we accept the migration prompt, we're safe. From here, we can advance into tribal stage, and tribal stage will spawn all 5 tribes and work just like normal. Another big thanks to Geta92 and Xeilot for discovering the sea monster bypass and finding how to finish creature stage on another continent. And that's how to migrate to another continent, bypassing the sea monster without cheats to beat civilization stage without spending any money. Thank you so much for watching, I'm King of Valence, and I'll see you next time.